what the hell was going on? I was like, please don't come. I didn't do anything.
なんかさっきのさ、
Yeah.
お酒の話がめっちゃ気になった。
And they were just looking at me and their eyes went like this.
こんにちは。日本語教師のゆめりです。
Hi, I'm Dek and I'm an English teacher in Japan and welcome to our podcast.
日本語と英語をポッドキャストで勉強しましょう。イエイ。デック何飲んでる？
Now, coffee. I love coffee. Yeah, coffee 大好きだよ。
乾杯する？
乾杯 Yeah.
乾杯。
Very important Japanese culture. And speaking of culture, what's today's topic?
今日のトピックはカルチャーショックです。
Big topic.
デックは今どれぐらい日本に住んでるの？
I've been in Japan for 8 years. In 3 days. My 8th anniversary is in 3 days. So, yeah, that'll be really good. Long time. ありがとうございます。Thank you very much.
長いね。
Yeah, long time. So I've experienced a lot of culture shock, and I think most people that come to Japan don't experience culture shock if they come as a tourist. I think you only really experience culture shock in a country if you spend a long time. So if you live here for 6 months, a year, then you can finally experience real culture shock. I think if you just come here as a tourist or for a short time, you just enjoy the country. Like even Japan or like China or Korea, something completely different to like England, America, Australia, then you'll still enjoy everything. But once the holiday period kind of finishes, so for example, my first year in Japan, 全部楽しい everything was fun.
確かに。
Like, oh, new ramen, new beer, new mountain to climb, new kimono, new school, everything. And after a year, you then get tax. You then settle into a routine. And that's when you realize that you're in the deep end. You're experiencing the culture. And it's quite shocking for a lot of people. A lot of foreigners, I think, aren't used to the culture shock in Japan. I think the West and Japan are very, very different. And I think depending on where you go in Japan, because most people just think, oh, Japan is Tokyo. But if you went to Fukuoka in the south, or Sapporo in the north, or Okinawa, it's completely different. And you will have different culture shock. And some people will experience it better than others. I know some people who had a really rough time and they had to go home. So,
そうだね。
yeah, culture shock is definitely a big thing. But like Yumely, I know you've lived abroad in New Zealand. So as a Japanese girl, did you have culture shock going to New Zealand?
カルチャーショック、そうだね。カルチャーショック、たくさんあったけど、確かにニュージーランドに私も最初着いた時は全部新しいことばっかりで、ハンバーガー大きいとか、
yeah, right. Big size.
そうそうそう、あとなんかサインがイングリッシュかっこいいとか思ってたけど、時間が経つとあれなんか想像してた海外の生活とちょっと違うなとか、そういうカルチャーショックは確かにあったかもしれない。
How about your homestay in New Zealand?
ホームステイ、ホームステイすごく楽しかったけど、確かにホームステイもすごいカルチャーショックがあって。
Really? For example?
1ヶ月間ホームステイしたんだけど、なんか日本人の感覚だと、私はゲストだからなんかたくさんウェルカムしてもらえると思っていたんだけど、 全然なんかすごく普通の生活を一緒に送る感じで。
Oh, really?
それはすごいびっくりしたかも。
Yeah. In Japan, it's all about omotenashi, which is hospitality.
Yeah.
Right? Hospitality is like the big thing. It's the top thing. You don't want to disappoint your guests. And especially when guests enter someone's house, obviously, for example, a family, there's the man and the wife and then the children. But when a guest comes, they go right to the top. And they are like the most important person, literally the VIP, sure. So I think like if I go to my teacher's house, they give me food and drink and they always check like, are you okay? Are you hot? Are you cold? Like, is the pillow comfortable enough? And I'm like, yeah, like, zenbu daijoubu da yo. Like, relax, please, relax. But so I think maybe you thought the same. Like when you went to New Zealand, you would be treated as the highest. But what I think, especially in England, is that we treat guests as equal, which is showing respect. So instead of putting the guest higher than ourselves, we put the guest at the same level. So I have a story where my friend went to Australia and he was quite thirsty one night, and he said to his host parents, "Excuse me, could I have a drink?" And they said, "Oh yeah, go to the kitchen, help yourself." And he was really surprised. He thought, wow, they are rude. Why didn't they get a drink for me? Like, because in Japan, if I said, oh, like, nanika nomitai nda kedo, like they would stand up and they'd be like, okay, we'll get you coffee or tea or water. But in Western culture, it's more like, my home is your home. You can do anything you want in this home. Help yourself anytime. いつでもいい。何でもいい。
じゃあ、冷蔵庫も全然開けてもいいってこと？
Yeah, of course, yeah. Anytime. Yeah, because you're in my house, and so guests are the same. So even though you don't pay rent, you can eat all the foods and drink. So he was quite shocked, and he thought he was with a rude family. So I'm not sure if he complained, but he definitely asked me and asked some other people, and we were like, man, they're being very kind. It's like they're showing you can do anything in their house. So was that like you? Like, did you feel that your host family were kind of rude? Was that like the culture shock?
なんか失礼とは思わなかったけど、確かに例えば朝ごはんとかは準備してもらえると思っていたんだけど、なんか自分で好きなの食べてねみたいな、シリアルを棚に入っているよって言って。
Yeah, so it's kind of like makaseru ne, do it by yourself, help yourself. Yeah. So I think that's the main thing, because in Japan, hospitality is the main thing. But in Western culture, hospitality has a different meaning. It's literally Western culture, you want the guests to be the same, and in Japanese culture, you want the guests to feel important. Which do you think is better? Are both correct? Are both, I don't know.
でも確かに、日本のような、日本みたいな感じだと、ちょっとゲストもすごい気を使うよね。
Yeah.
で、ちょっと疲れるよね、お互いに。
Yeah. I do think if I go to like my teacher's house, I always feel, because they elevate me, because they put me as like number one, like, this guest is the best man in the world. He is number one. I always feel pressure. I always feel like, oh, maybe like I shouldn't do something, or maybe they expect me to do something or act in a certain way. But for me, making the guest equal, it's kind of like, oh, just relax, just be yourself. You don't have to impress, just relax, just eat whatever you want, shower whenever you want, clean your clothes whenever you want, go out whenever you want, come back whenever you want. But Japan, it feels like because you're elevated, there's like nanka pressure, and I like it. I like that Japanese are very kind. It's very kind, but it's like for me a bit of pressure. If you have a family, which one would you do? Would you put the guest first or equal? どっちがいい？
やっぱり私はゲストファーストにしてしまうと思う。
Yeah, I think I would still put them equal.
でもそっちの方がね、いいかもしれないね。
Yeah. But I think it's a good thing. It's definitely both cultures are being friendly. Yeah, it's just completely different. So, yeah, it's really interesting the way Japan and the Western worlds are different to each other.
じゃあさ、ベックは日本に来て何が一番カルチャーショックだった？
Good question, Yumely. That is a very good question. I think so. Before Japan, I went to a lot of countries, and so for a long time, actually, I didn't get culture shock in Japan because obviously the food is very different. But we have ramen and sushi in England, so the food was okay. I think I was definitely surprised how much Japanese people drink.
Oh!
Yeah, right?
気になる。
Like mainichi almost every day. Like especially salarymen or like businessmen and women. There's a few small things like at work, you even if someone is a new teacher but has more experience than someone, they will be below. But if someone's like 60 years old, 60歳, and someone's like 50 years old, but they've been a teacher all their life, and this person has just started, この人は先輩. This is the senpai. Even though this person has taught their whole life and has more experience, is probably better, but this person will have more money, better position, more respect. And I think culture shock for me was, like learning, especially when learning Japanese, learning how to speak to kohai and senpai. And sensei. So for example, if I speak to you, I could say like, Ashita nani suru? But if I speak to my teacher, I have to say, Ashita nani o shimasu ka? So, you know, it's that kind of like, it took me a long time to realize that there's different levels to Japanese. And I had no idea about that. Because in English, if you can say cheers to your boss or like, thanks, cheers, mate. Thanks to your boss. Again, that's that kind of equal level. Like, even though they're your boss, the boss wants to be friends with you. And even if you say thanks or cheers, there's still a lot of like meaning behind that. But if I said to like my kocho sensei, principal, if I just went, oh, domo, that's very rude, right? The language itself was the culture shock to me. I didn't know that there was the three, almost like there's like just suru, shimasu, and then there's like irashaimase, and it's just the different levels, like business levels. Like most students, they say that, I mean, maybe you can confirm, but they only learn like sonkeigo toka when they start working. So if they go to like 7-Eleven or like have a part-time job, that's when they start learning. So like Japanese people just learn Japanese throughout their life, and that was really like shocking to me. And
確かに
yeah, so I think most people, the food and drinks and stuff, but for me it was the actual language and the hierarchy. Senpai, kohai relationship, and age being the most important thing over experience, because in the West, experience is the main thing. Age doesn't mean anything. if you're 60 or if you're 20, whoever is the best for the job, whoever has the most experience. わあ、ベスト。
どっちが好き？どっちのカルチャーが好き？
I think so. Yeah, we could do like a point system. So like hospitality or motenashi. I think Japan won. I think 1 point each. Japan won and like the West won. This time I kind of like. I think I like Western culture because I think age shouldn't matter. Like
そう、確かにね。
I've been at some schools and there's some old people who are just terrible. They're terrible teachers. Really bad teachers. I shouldn't say this, but they're really bad teachers. And then there's some younger teachers who are like, they have a lot of energy. めっちゃ元気で and they like really want to learn and they really want to teach the kids. But then the older teachers are just at their desk sleeping. And it's kind of like, they're on like triple the pay just because they've been working there.
確かに確かに。
So Yumely, that's 2 to the West, 1 to Japan, I think. But it's very close. Very close.
なんかさっきのさ、
Yeah.
お酒の話がめっちゃ気になった。
Oh, like how Japanese people drink every day? Most Japanese people drink. Yeah, I mean...
待って、それはどこでさ、感じたの？東京で感じた？それとも札幌で？
Well, maybe it's just a city thing. I think it's more a city thing. So, so for example, like my teachers, I asked them like, what did you do last night? And they're like, after school activities, I went home and I drank whiskey. And I'm like, oh, right. Like, do you drink whiskey like a lot? And they're like, oh, just like 2 glasses every day. And I'm like, every day? And it was really shocking because like in England, they would be called alcoholics. But in Japan, I don't think that word exists. I don't think the word alcoholic exists.
嘘。待って、仕事が終わって、家に帰って、2杯飲んだだけで、アルコール中毒ってこと？
Yeah.
あ、嘘。
Yeah, but like not just one teacher. Like, so I think I've counted. I've been to about 13 schools. This may just be teachers, but I'll talk about it more. But my teachers, almost every teacher I talk to drinks every day. Maybe they're so stressed they have to drink.
確かにね。
Relax. But yeah, they have like some will have like a can of beer with dinner, like Sapporo Classic, or like some will just drink a couple of glasses of whiskey, or they have like a 5-liter bottle of shochu. By the way, listeners, if you ever come to Japan, shochu and pineapple juice, so good. But also like, okay, so this is again back to the hierarchy culture. So if there's like Bonenkai, which is like end of year party, or the Sorbetskai, which is like the farewell party, usually in March, then yeah, I think a lot of people go out drinking. For example, take a company like Sony, and then people at the end of the year, they'll all go out drinking, and the boss will go out, and people kind of can't leave until he goes home. Right? It's rude to go home before the boss.
そうだね、そうだね。
Even if you don't drink a lot, you have to drink because it's nomi hodai, all you can drink. And also everyone has to fill up his drink. So if the boss is like drinking, they come up and they're like, oh, drink. And everyone fills up each other's. So you have to keep drinking. And yeah, like I see people like Tuesday night, I'll be coming through the city, riding my bike, and there's business parties going out drinking, all in their suit, drinking, and then going to karaoke at like 11 o'clock at night. And it's like, wow, that would not happen.
そうなんだ。あんまり
Friday and Saturday, yeah. Yeah, well, we go out drinking. English people love drinking, but usually we go out on like a Friday or a Saturday. But in Japan, like a lot of my friends, like, so for example, yeah, some of my friends now who are like in their 20s, they still kind of go out 4-5 times a week. And I'm like, what? That's so much. Because they just go to like an izakaya, which is a kind of like a restaurant where you can get food and drink. And I think in Japan, it's more the experience. Like, for example, if I want to see my friends in England, we might go to a bar, but we'd probably either just message, or we'd go to like a cafe or something, or I'd say, I'll see you on the weekends. But in Japan, it's nice to kind of go out and drink. So it's just kind of like, after work, nomini iko, should we go for a drink? And then you have another friend that wants to go for a drink. So you can kind of go to an izakaya, which are everywhere, and just have some food and drink, which I kind of like that. I like that Japanese people are very outgoing. Maybe it's not good for the liver, but yeah, I do like the Japanese people are always outgoing.
全然知らなかった。それがなんか日本独特っていうのを全然知らなかった。めっちゃびっくり。
Where was it? Okinawa?
Yeah, Okinawa.
So what's the like culture like there? What's the drinking culture like in Okinawa?
沖縄のドリンキングカルチャーはもうすごくユニークだと思う。
Okay, tell me. This is new for me.
沖縄の人はめっちゃ飲む。だから多分、レックが沖縄に行ったらもっとびっくりすると思う。
Really?
なんか普通飲むと、
Do they always party? Like, is it party or just likeゆっくりで飲んでる? Or just like shot?
いやなんか多分ね、人によるとは思うけど、確かにショットが多かった。
Wow.
あとね、めっちゃ長い。飲む時間が。
Right? That's what I was going to say next. Like, people just drink in Japan all the time. That's what shocks me the most. I want to change my answer. Yeah. People drink for a long time. Right? A night out would be like anywhere from like 6 to 10 hours. Like you could meet at 8 o'clock and people would get the first train back at like 6 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like at 2 o'clock, I remember I first came to Japan and around 2 o'clock, I would kind of say to my friends, like, I'm going home now. And they're like, what? Why are you going home? Stay out. And I'm like, no, I'm tired. Like, I need to go back. I need to like rest. And then I'd text them in the next day and I'd say, what time did you get back? And they're like, shichigurai. I'm like, 7 o'clock. What were you doing? They're like, yeah, I got the first train back. Yeah, nomuchikan nagai. They drink a lot. Yeah. How about you? Do you drink a lot? Or just like casually, like with friends or something?
でもすごい好き、お酒は。
What's your favorite drink?
何かな。レモンサワーがめっちゃ好き。
Lemon sour, okay, yeah.
レックは何が好き？
I like beer, especially Sapporo Classic, which is different because there's two Sapporo beers. There's Sapporo Black Label, Kuro Label, and then there's Sapporo Classic, Sapporo Classic. And Classic is only available in Hokkaido. And that is, you can't get it anywhere else in Japan. And it's the best beer. Okay, let's talk about onsens, the culture of onsens. So this is a good culture shock story.
本当?
In the West, okay, maybe this is like, if any kids are watching, maybe they should turn off. No, I'm joking. But when I went to, where was it? I went to my first onsen. And obviously in Japan, in an onsen, you're naked. And I was like really, really shocked. I was just like, oh my God, like, what do I do? And it was like really, I was just really nervous because in England and other countries, you always have like something to wear, right? You always have like trunks or like swimming wear. And in Japan, it's just naked. And I remember the first onsen I went in, it was with my principal, and he just quickly got naked and went in. And I was just like, oh my God, like, what do I do? What do I do? And as I was taking my pants off, a little girl ran in and just stood next to me. And I was like, what the hell was going on? I was like, please don't come. I didn't do anything. And this little girl is just like standing right next to me, staring at my body, my naked body. And I'm just like, oh my God. Because like, I guess up until about the age of 6 or 7, like kids can go with their parents. So this girl was obviously with her dad. And then the dad came round and was just like, oh, sumimasen there, and just like took the girl away. And then I went into the onsen, and obviously as a tall foreigner, everyone's just looking at me. And I was so like self-conscious. I was just like, oh my God. So I quickly just ran in, just got underwater, and I was just like, this is weird. But now I love onsens. I love onsens very much. Yeah. めっちゃ怖かった。Yeah, 初めて。
どこの温泉に行ったの?
Just some random onsen, like in Sapporo, but just a random onsen. But then I went with my other principal another time.
すごいね。なんか、
yeah,
高校先生とさ、めっちゃ仲いいね。
Yeah, I do. I think I just talk to them a lot. I'm just like, just go up to them. I'm like, oh, do you like coffee? Do you like beer? And then from then, we just talk to them.
なんか校長先生と温泉に行くってすごいなんか面白いね。
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I guess it's kind of unique. Yeah, but this story number 2, like culture shock. So the next one, I went to Niseko, which is a kind of ski resort in Hokkaido, if you don't know where that is. And I went with my principal again, and I was just like, okay, same as usual, you know, go in together, get naked, and then go in the onsen. This one was in winter, so it was in January. Super cold. If you don't know a Hokkaido winter, it's like minus 15, snows every day. I mean, it's so cold. Yeah. And so this was an outside onsen. So it was going to be really kind of like, you have to walk outside a little bit, and then you can go in and enjoy the like keshiki, the scenery and everything, the atmosphere, the funki. Yeah, the snowing as well. It's like really beautiful. And as I went outside, I closed the door. I went out, opened the door, went out, closed the door, started walking to the onsen, and then I looked, and there was 2 women, and they were just looking at me, and their eyes went like this. And I was like, Minaide, like, don't look at me. And I was like, oh my God, am I in the women's onsen? What the hell? And then my principal was just like, Deku, kite kudasai, kochi, kite kudasai. And I realized it was a shared onsen. Yeah. めっちゃびっくりした。I was so surprised.
混浴だ。混浴ってことだよね。
And that, I was in Japan. That was only like 4 years ago. So I was in Japan for 4 years, and I still had that culture shock of just bathing naked men and naked women together. But in Japan, it was kind of just like, oh yeah, like everyone's together. And I was just like, naked women, oh my God. Like, so I just like ran in again, just went under the water. And I was just like, oh my God.
どうだった？でも私も混浴は行ったことない。
Oh, really? 行かない方がいい。It's better not to go.
行けないと思う。ちょっとやっぱり恥ずかしいと思う。
Yeah, I was so embarrassed. I was just like, oh my God, like what's going on?
それは女性も何も着てないの？なんか水着とか。
Yeah. Nope. Everyone was naked. Yeah. Crazy. So back to drinking. I think I kind of like that Japanese people go out all the time, and it's really good. So I think Japan gets a point for that. So 2-2. Kawaii. So I think 2-2 in the end. And yeah, I think that's a fair result. Japan 2, the West 2.
面白いね。お疲れ様です。じゃあこんな感じで私たちの最初のポッドキャストを終わります。どうでしたか？カルチャーショック面白かったね。なんかいろいろあるんだね。
And you should say in the comments below, like if you've come to Japan, what culture shock did you guys have? And if you have any questions for Yumely or me, then please ask and we'll try our best to answer them for you.
ぜひみんなのカルチャーショックもコメント欄で教えてください。
見てくれてありがとうございます。
はい、ありがとうございました。聞いてくれてありがとうございました。じゃあ、Thank you! バイバイ。
See you later, everyone. じゃあね。